All right, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Paige. I'm part of the marketing team at Dynadot, based in the San Mateo office, and I'm one of your hosts for today.
And my name is Barry. I also work in the marketing department with Paige. I'm based out of our Toronto office here in Canada, and it's a beautiful sunny day, which is saying something about part of the world that I'm in. So welcome to our webinar. If you're not familiar with who we are, Dynadot is a domain name registrar and web host. We offer a website builder, which you'll see later on, and we offer aftermarket domain services and basically the whole package in order to get online and to succeed online. So welcome aboard. Before we get started, I'll send you over to Paige, who is going to give you a rundown of the topics and the content for today.
Thanks, Barry. So our topic today is how to drive traffic to your website with social media. And here's a quick overview of our agenda today. How do I make my website social media friendly? Which social media platform is best for me? How do I write content that keeps people engaged? And how do I use data to refine my social strategy? And after we've covered all these topics, we'll be having a Q&A at the end of the webinar. So feel free to post any questions you have in the Q&A chat, but they will be addressed at the end. At the end, we'll also give a Site Builder Business Plan coupon, so stay tuned for that as well. And now I'll turn it over to Barry, who will talk about why you should be on social media.
Thanks, Paige. So why be on social media? It seems funny that we're sort of having that conversation because social media has in a very short time become ubiquitous with just being online. But just to break it down a little bit more, there are probably 4 big reasons why you want to be on social media if you're promoting yourself, your company, your products, whatever you may do. Number 1, that's where your customers are. Or your readers, if you run a blog. Every single phone, every single desktop, they're all hooked on to Facebook or Instagram, what have you. So people are on there and they're looking for other people. So in a very, very easy way, that's where your customers are. Number 2, it's good for SEO, kind of. The best way to think about social media and SEO is that there's a correlation and not necessarily a causation. So the potential for links is huge. Google doesn't necessarily view Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as having any impact on your ranking, but what can happen on social can trickle into your website. For example, if you're sharing links on social, someone takes that and then writes about what you shared and then shares that same link on their site, then all of a sudden there's authority there. So there's a bit of a chain of command between the social media links and what it could potentially do to your website. Another thing is branded searches. If you are active on social media and you're promoting a sort of a brand or a trademark or yourself, when people go searching for you online, they may go ahead and put your company name or your name in there. So that branded search is worth its weight in gold for your ranking. We don't normally think of YouTube as being a social media channel, which is kind of interesting, but it is. Maybe it's because it's closely related to TV or media that we're used to, but it definitely is. And because Google owns YouTube, we can put 2 and 2 together and say that YouTube videos do rank organically. So if you're active on YouTube, then that can definitely help your rankings. Point number 3, as I said, every single mobile phone comes preloaded with social media. So mobile is the future, and that means social is the future. A lot of developing markets and developing countries are only interacting with the online world through mobile. So if you are thinking globally as well as regional, then you want to be on social media because that's where everyone new coming on is going to be looking for you. And number 4, builds trust. A lot of people won't do business with a company if they're not on social media, as weird as that may seem. Social media can show maybe the behind the scenes of what you do, who you are as a person, and then who you are as a company. And it builds trust between you and the prospective reader of your site or customer. So it kind of creates a family picture, maybe, and that will help people sort of build a certain relationship with you. They become used to seeing you and value your opinion and trust you when they're interacting with you on social media. So that's probably the most important one in that it builds trust. It adds credibility to your organization or to your mission statement. So why be on social media? All those things together, basically everyone's on social media. So now I'll switch it over to Paige, who's going to actually show you a live action example of a website and how it interacts with social media and vice versa. Over to you, Paige.
All right, thanks, Barry. So the first topic we're going to cover is how to make your website social media friendly. If you're going to drive traffic to your website, you want to make sure social media is already integrated in your website. So in partnership with .social, we're going to show you how we'll promote our website, Dynadot.social, on social media. This website showcases some of the social activities that we put on for our staff here at Dynadot. For example, under the holiday tab, you can see some of the fun holidays that our office celebrates. And since the posts are in blog form, you can easily click share, the share icon on the bottom left of each post to share it on social media. This is an example of how you can make your website social media friendly because you want to make sure your posts can be shared easily by yourself or your visitors. You will also want to make sure to link your social media on your website. We do this here under the social media tab, where we have our Instagram and Twitter live feed displayed. At the bottom right, we also have clickable icons for all of these social channels that we have accounts for. Dynadot's website builder makes this very easy with its built-in social tools, blog, SEO, and e-commerce features. And here's how we'll integrate some of our website's content into our social media channels. As you can see, you can accompany your content with hashtags and copy. Another tip is when you're linking content to social media, look into creating short links. Lengthy links can seem unappealing, so you can make short branded links with programs like Bitly or TinyURL. As you can see from the example, Dynadot's branded short link is dyna.me. And some final tips are to make sure to add your website to the bio of all your social media platforms. That way, anyone that goes to your social media can find your website right away. And then finally, make sure to keep your branding consistent between social media and your website in terms of logos, imagery, and the style of copy that you write. You may confuse your audience if they can't recognize the similarities between your website and your social media. And now I'll turn it over to Barry, who will talk about how to choose the best social media platform for you.
Thanks, Paige. There are a lot of social media platforms out there. There's maybe the most famous and the basic Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. There's also some that maybe are a bit more demographically centered, such as Snapchat, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and I mentioned YouTube as well too. And then there are even some second tier social media platforms that we maybe don't even think of them as social media platforms, such as Reddit or Dig. But we can be safe to say that they fall into that category. So where do you start? To determine which social media platform is best for you, you should at first analyze your audience. So who are you targeting? What age, demographic, gender, maybe location-based? Are you looking at regional, looking at global? Once you start sort of narrowing down who your audience is, then the social media platforms will probably become a little bit more clear as to which ones you should choose. For example, if you're aiming at a younger crowd aged 18 to 24, the old selfie generation, you may want to focus on Snapchat or Instagram. That's where they hang out. If you're an e-commerce site and you're promoting a product, maybe it's a product that photographs really well, maybe it's all being sold in the picture, then you're going to want to go on a media-heavy platform such as Instagram or Snapchat. If you're aiming at maybe an older, more professional crowd, you might want to focus on Facebook and LinkedIn or LinkedIn. For example, I work in marketing. A lot of people within my industry congregate on LinkedIn because of there is a lot of content being developed and a lot of content marketing being shared. So LinkedIn is great for text-heavy content. That's what people expect to see when they go in there. If you were to put a whole blog post or something that would a snippet of a blog post on your Instagram feed, it might not get the sort of action that you desire for when shooting it back to your site. So think about which platform sort of fits who you are, and it'll come into a bit of a clearer picture. You might also want to look at where your community in your industry congregate the most. Hashtags and followers of industry peers will help you find out who is where. You'll also want to look at what the kind of content you're putting on your website. Ideally, you want your social media presence to seamlessly flow into your website and vice versa. So if you're using a media-heavy Instagram account, you're not going to want to send people to a professional writing site, like I said. So when thinking about your social media, then also think about your website and try to meld the two as much as possible. Obviously, that's hard when you build your own website and you're using someone else's network, but just think of the journey that the prospective customer or prospective reader is going to take when they do jump off the social media site and head to your website, which is where you want them to be to complete whatever action that you desire. So how do you write content that keeps people engaged and that does make that jump? I'll switch that over to Paige, who's going to go into that a little bit deeper.
Thanks, Barry. So once you've identified your audience and the social media platform that suits you best, you can start thinking about what kind of content will keep them engaged. Here on this slide, we have an example of different pieces of content formed to fit certain social media platforms. When it comes to your visual content, make sure that you use high quality images, or if you have some graphic design experience, use that experience to design images for your social media. If you don't, then there are many free and paid programs that allow you to make quick and easy social images. You can also find a lot of stock photo websites that have royalty-free content, meaning that you can use their photos or videos without any copyright issues. Another thing to keep in mind is that each social platform has different sizing for posts. So when you're using photos or images, make sure to size them down to the correct size. Another important thing to remember is that not all of your social posts need to be yours. You can interact with influencers who might be able to advocate for your product or business. And so don't be afraid to retweet them or repost them for credibility. You can interact with your followers and join conversations within the communities of your industry. And also make sure to include relevant keywords with any of the copy that you write for social media. You can do some social media listing, respond to relevant hashtags and current events in your industry, and keep track of trending hashtags that are relevant to your industry that can help you reach people that you might not normally reach. And I'll turn it over to Barry, who will talk about how to use data to refine your social media strategy.
Thanks, Paige. Data, very, very important. Analytics, metrics, whatever you call it, it's stats. It's important to continually refine your social media presence. Because social media is forever changing and your audience is too, you'll need to really be attentive and be in there changing what needs to be changed, maybe massaging what works, that kind of thing, just to keep the audience wrapped. Because if you've looked at any other following list for any other accounts, there's a lot of people out there and a lot of companies out there. So continually refining your social media presence is the best way to hold on to your audience and get a new audience as well too, and get new people coming in. So how do you get these stats? Where do you go? There are a few different analytics providers that I've used in the past. A quick Google search will show up a lot, but just a couple that I've used. Follower Wonk is great for Twitter. It basically gives you the bigger picture of your follower list and kind of hashes out some of that demographic info that I talked about before. So they're definitely good at that. Hootsuite, which you may be familiar with, is an aggregator for many different social media accounts. It kind of puts it into one dashboard, and they give you some really easily digestible data on your posts. Just a quick note though, if you are going to be using third-party providers for crunching your data, you will be handing over information about your social media accounts to them, including the follower list and all that data that comes with that. So just be aware that when you do sort of put in a third-party plugin or you're looking for information from a third party, your info is going to be out there. So if you're sensitive about your list and what it's made up of, then you might want to think that through if you're using a third-party service. That being said, before you move to a third-party software provider, all social media networks should give you the basics in order to crunch some of those numbers. And when I mean the basics, I mean basically 3 data points: reach, engagement, and impressions. So as you'll see on the screen here, we've got the dashboards for Facebook and Twitter giving some data for you. This will really help you kind of get the story of some of your data. So what are we talking about when we talk about reach, engagement, impressions? Reach generally is the number of unique people that have seen your content. Engagement is the number of times people interacted with your content, clicks. I like engagement as being probably the most important out of these basic data fields. And impressions, probably my least favorite. the number of times your post was displayed. So some people view impressions as being the number of times that it's actually been seen, and their posts may have impressions of 500,000 or 600,000. That may not be the case. It just means the potential is there for your post to be seen that time. Another thing to take into account is that a lot of these different social media networks have their own ways of defining their stats, their metrics. So Facebook's impressions may be calculated a little bit different than Twitter. So when you are looking at those numbers, it's important to go in there and really look at what's happening and what it's actually taking into account. So when you're measuring these metrics, you can see which of your posts are engaged with the most. These are not the only metrics that you should keep an eye on. Some of the sort of secondary metrics that help tell the story as well too could be what time of day did your most successful post go out? What day of the week? Was it on a holiday? The length of the post? Did you jump on certain hashtags and keywords, as Paige is going to talk about? Or is it there's something about some of the content that you wrote that really engaged people? So when you're looking at the sort of basics, always dig a little deeper and see what works best for you. So I'm going to flip it over to Paige, who's going to look at that, tell you to look how to look at your competitors list as well too, and your competitors on social media to maybe tell a bit more about your story as well. It's not just always about your data, but it's maybe a little bit about their data too.
Thanks, Barry. So another tip is look at your competitors. Look at what their social media strategies are and what you can take away from them. There are programs that you can look at that will tell you which of their posts are getting the most engagement. And then comparing that data to yours, you can see what you can do to improve your social media strategy. And remember, when comparing social media strategies, you shouldn't copy your competitor's strategy entirely. You should just allow their strategy to inspire you in some way. And like we said before, it's important to keep track of the relevant hashtags, conversations, and news that are relevant within your industry. Also look at the data that shows you some visual trends in your engagement. If one post is performing better than the rest, you can see what you did in that post to apply to the future. And now that we're near the 20-minute mark, we wanted to wrap up some of our main takeaways from this webinar and allow some time for Q&A. So some of the main takeaways that we'd like you to leave this webinar with are: make your website social media friendly. Think of your site as an extension of your social presence as well as vice versa. Identify your target audience and adjust your content for different social media platforms. And finally, use data from past social media posts to see what works and what doesn't. So thank you guys for sticking with us this far. So we'll now be answering any questions you have for Q&A. So if you guys don't have any questions at the moment, we'll just be answering some basic questions you might have about social media. So the first is, should you be on every social media site?
Yeah, I can feel that one. Should you be on every social media site? I think you should divide your time between what you want to do on social with your other tasks. If being on every single social media site is taking up 60% of your time every day, then that might not be a great use of your time. You always want to focus mainly on the ones that are working for you. That being said, you can always use different social media platforms for different purposes. For example, with Dynadot, we use our Twitter account to have conversations, but also share information about sales that we're having or announcements that we have for our customer base. It's similar with Facebook too, but on Facebook, we actually share a bit more of a behind the scenes kind of look at what we're doing day to day in the office, whether it's someone's birthday or a holiday. And Instagram even goes even farther into that and is primarily about life at Dynadot. So each social platform can sort of provide its own usage, but don't get too bogged down in having to be on every single social media platform. There could be a feeling of FOMO when it comes to maybe not being on the right one, but if your audience isn't there and if it's taking time away from the social media platforms that are working for you, it might not be the best use of your time.
So another question that might come up when you're making your social media pages for your business or for personal use is, what do I do if the name I want is not available? So say your business name is like Flower Shop. If your account name is not available, you can add a prefix or a suffix, like maybe the Flower Shop, or you can also add the name of your town or city, Flower Shop San Mateo, for example.
So if there aren't any more questions, we'll move on. I want to thank you, everyone, for joining on the webinar. I want to thank you to Dot Social for sponsoring this webinar. I will let you know that Dot Social is actually on sale for $185 until the 23rd of May, so that's a really good deal. Like you saw, we built our Dynadot Social page out to show life behind the scenes at Dynadot, so there's definitely some fun stuff you can do with that. We also have a special site builder coupon for you. It's 25% off our site builder business plan. That's our premium plan. With the coupon code WebinarBiz, you'll get 25% off our annual plan. Our business plan is our most powerful plan. You can build whatever you want on it. You can use our templates. You can use your own code. You can build an e-commerce website. You can build a media-heavy website. Whatever you need to do, it's all there. You also get email with it too. So this is a really good deal for you to get online and compare against some of the other website builders. It's a steal of a deal. So you definitely want to get on that. We'll have that coupon available until the end of the month. So you definitely want to take advantage of that and the Dot Social deal. So thank you very much. You will get an email after this with the survey. Please fill out the survey and let us know what you liked, what you potentially didn't like, what type of topics you'd like to see in the future, and just any general feedback. We're always welcome. We are going to be holding webinars more frequently in the future. So if there is a topic you want to see, by all means, let us know, and we will do our best to get a webinar out there for it. So thank you for joining us, and I'll say thank you to Paige as well too, who's in our San Mateo office, and we hope you have a very good day. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.